Gavin Newsom just attacked the Prime Minister of Israel after attacking you. And if you're a Christian living anywhere in this country or around the world, you're on his hit list. Here's the evidence. All right, folks, let's get into this one. And I'm just going to tell you this right now. If you do not like your children hearing the word stupid, this will not be a video you want to watch while you are near them, because you will see that word thrown around quite a bit. Now, the reason why it's going to be thrown around is because you are going to watch a video where the governor of the state of California uses that term in a way that is absolutely insane. And quite frankly, I am very, very, very appalled by what he said. And as a result, I actually want to show you how he is the one that actually lacks the ability in being able to understand the very basics of anything that he touches, and he literally destroys everything that he touches. So stand by on this one, folks, because I'm going to tell you this right now. You are going to be shocked when you see the story in its totality of how much he has damaged. And this is going to be one video that you're going to watch in its entirety. And it's also going to be a video that you're going to want to hand to other people, because this one is crazy.
In Israel, do you want to see a ceasefire?
Well, I want to see the war end. I want Hamas eliminated.
Should President Biden call for one?
I want these hostages returned home. I'm going to respect the...
Sounds pretty good so far, right? I want these hostages returned home. I want Hamas eliminated. Oh, stand by, folks. This is about to get very interesting.
President's capacity to lead at this difficult moment. I know his private heart on this. Of course, we understand what's happening as it relates to humanitarian crisis. He said, it breaks my heart. You can't be a human being and watch that. And so that has to be addressed. And with regard to Benjamin Netanyahu, who I've visited and I've worked with in the past, he's doubling down on stupid as it relates to the two-state solution and walking away from that. And I appreciate and applaud what the Biden administration did this week, Secretary Blinken and others, as it relates to the settlements in the West Bank. So more
I think it's amazing that he can have such a level of absolute arrogance regarding this. I would bet you anything that if I threw a map at Israel at him and I told him to draw an outline of what he calls the West Bank, which, by the way, Judea, Samaria, he wouldn't even know what he was talking about. If I told him to identify Rafah or Khan Yunis, or I told him to show me where Gaza City is in Gaza, he wouldn't be able to identify it in the map. I promise you that. And to say that the Prime Minister of Israel is doubling down on stupid? Okay, before I respond to his absolutely moronic statement, because my response to his statement is actually going to show everybody what doubling down on stupid means. And if you really want to know what doubling down on stupid is all about, you can examine the career of Gavin Newsom, because you will learn all about what doubling down on stupid actually means. But before that happens, let me give Benjamin Netanyahu an opportunity to respond. First and foremost, what the President of the United States has done recently in interfering with operations of the state of Israel to protect itself. And I will show you Netanyahu's response to the issue of Governor Newsom. He's disgusting, okay? And look, I'm going to show you what doubling down on stupid actually means. It's very, very important that you understand what the real context of doubling down on stupid. And when he begins to talk about humanitarian crisis and all that other nonsense, okay, let me just show you, because it's propagandist nonsense. If he was worried about humanitarian crisis, why isn't he talking about Azerbaijan? Why isn't he talking about what's actually happening in and with all of the Armenians? Why isn't he spending time talking about all of the people that died in Syria, all the Arabs that are getting killed on a regular basis? This is ridiculous. I'm not even going to get into the insanity of his statement, but I will show you what doubling down on stupid really looks like. And we're going to get into that conversation in just a second. So let's listen to Benjamin Netanyahu's response to not only what the president said, but to what Governor Newsom says.
Does the President Biden that hugged you after October 7th resemble the same one that seems upset with you now, saying your reaction in Gaza has been over the top? What's your reaction to the seemingly withering support from this administration?
Look, I appreciate the president's support at the beginning of the war and throughout. We've had our differences of opinion, but we've been able to agree on, on the three war aims: destroying Hamas, bringing back the hostages, and making sure that Gaza is not a threat to Israel. But I think that there are natural differences of opinion. I can tell you one thing, though. I just came out of a meeting with Colonel John Spencer. John Spencer is the world expert on.
By the way, if you guys want to know who he is, well, he's going to explain it right now. But that's the go-to guy when it comes to urban warfare. And by the way, I don't know if Netanyahu's going to mention it here, but he is a big deal at West Point, like massive. The military. Anyway, he's a big deal. So listen to what Spencer's thoughts are on this. This is very important, especially when you start talking about doubling down on stupid and Governor Newsom's desire to want to see humanity being taken care of.
Urban warfare. He heads the urban warfare department in West Point. And he's compared what Israel is doing in trying to fight these terrorists who not only systematically target civilians but hide behind their civilians. He said that there is no other army that is in the world that has gone to the lengths that Israel has gone to to prevent civilian casualties. And he's right. So I don't think our reaction is over the top. I think the Israeli army is setting the gold standard of how to fight terrorists embedded in civilian neighborhoods, in hospitals, in schools, and yet minimize the ratio of civilian casualties. And I'll tell you, every civilian casualty is a tragedy. And they should all be brought to the doorstep of Hamas that is using them as human shields.
Yeah, because it is, in essence, Hamas that is hiding behind civilians. We know this. I'm not even going to get into that because we're all talking about the phrase doubling down on stupid. And that's the really important thing for us to be focusing on. What does it mean to double down on stupid? Because I'm going to show you what doubling down on stupid is all about. And it's very, very important that we recognize it, because the only person doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on stupid is Governor Newsom. And wait until you see what doubling down on stupid really looks like. You are going to get sick to your stomach when I read some of the stuff that is just, it's going to blow your mind. And if you really want to know what doubling down on absolute stupid looks like, get ready, because we're going to see that. But look at Netanyahu's response to Governor Newsom directly saying what he's saying. And quite frankly, I don't think Governor Newsom even deserves any kind of a dignified response. He's a clown. He's a complete clown. And we all know that. But that's a whole different story. So let's play Netanyahu's response here.
With regard to Benjamin Netanyahu, who I've visited and I've worked with in the past, he's doubling down on stupid as it relates to the two-state solution and walking away from that. Let's work to get these hostages home. Let's work to eliminate Hamas and rebuild Gaza and advance a two-state solution.
Are you doubling down on stupid?
Well, look, I met the governor when he was here, and I hope he had a chance to tour the country, because then he would have seen that this is not my personal position. It's the position of the people of Israel. They're not stupid. They understand that to just offer a Palestinian state is to give a platform for the repeated attempts to annihilate the Jewish state. And Hamas has already promised that if it's reconstituted, if Israel doesn't win the war, then they'll do this October 7th massacre over and over and over again, their words. So I don't think the people of Israel are stupid. I think they're actually very smart. That's why they support my position in achieving total victory, defeating Hamas, bringing back the hostages, and making sure that Gaza doesn't pose a threat to Israel again. And that means that Israel will have to have the overriding security control over that territory for the foreseeable future. That doesn't come with unlimited Palestinian sovereignty. I think the people are smart.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And I love Netanyahu's response, because it is true. Governor Newsom basically called all of the Jews in Israel stupid. Actually, forget all the Jews in Israel. He's talking about even the Arabs that live in Israel that are productive Israeli citizens. They all agree on the same thing. It's absolutely absurd. By the way, guys, let's go back for just 1 second to the wisdom of Bibi's statement regarding Gavin Newsom insulting all of the Jews, not just him, but all of those that live in Israel, because they all collectively believe the same thing he does regarding keeping the nation safe. I'm going to show you a video right now that shows you how Gavin Newsom views people in general. This is somebody in the state of California, and this regards his interaction with this Target employee. So watch this, because this will demonstrate to you very powerfully and very effectively how the governor of the state of California views people. And for those of you that don't live in California, this affects you, because this guy is going to run for president, or is trying to run for president, and it's going to affect eventually the rest of the world. So pay attention to this, because this is crazy.
Says, sir, you dropped this. And he comes back, picks it up, and keeps walking out. As we're checking out, the woman says, oh, he's just walking out. He didn't pay for that. I said, well, why are you stopping him? She goes, oh, the governor. I swear to God, true story. On my mom's grave. The governor lowered the threshold. There's no accountability. I said, that's just not true. And I said, we have the 10th toughest, $950, the 10th toughest in America. She doesn't even know what I was talking about. By the way, it's the 10th toughest in America. Look it up. No one gives a damn about that. And I said, it's just not true. There's still stop. They said, well, we don't stop them because of the governor. And then she looks at me twice, and then she freaks out. She calls everyone over, wants to take photos. I'm like, no, I'm not taking a photo. We're having a conversation. Where's your manager? How are you blaming the governor? And it was, $380 later. And I was like, why am I spending $380? Everyone can walk the hell right out.
I want you to notice that he's willing to blame anybody and everybody else, but not himself, because he is a terrible governor. People who choose to double down on stupid don't even take the time to evaluate their own actions. So let's talk about what really doubling down on stupid looks like. Shall we do that? Let's just start with a simple video of Gavin Newsom running his mouth again and saying some of the most insane things that, quite frankly, I don't even think he believes in. But let's just play this one video, and let's just talk about what his assessment of smart looks like. That's what we should probably start with, right? Why don't we look at what Gavin Newsom calls intelligent, what Gavin Newsom calls smart? Let's watch his own words. He's going to pray. Let's look at what he prioritizes as smart, gifted, whatever you might want to call it. Let's watch what Gavin Newsom says. Let's hear his description of smart. Ready? Here we go.
I revere his record. I mean, what he's done in 3 years.
By the way, when he says I revere his record, we'll start again. He's talking about Joe Biden. Yeah, Joe Biden. I revere Joe Biden's record. Yep. Has anybody told him that he's not going to be the one that runs for president, that it's going to be Big Mike, Michelle Obama? Forget that. Let's just go on. Let's start all over again. How about we start this video all over again, and let's hear him revere Biden's record. This is what you call really doubling down on stupid, okay? This is his definition. Get ready, folks. This is doubling down on stupid.
I revere his record. I mean, what he's done in 3 years has been a masterclass, all because of Biden's wisdom, because of his temperance, his capacity to lead in a bipartisan manner, which is an underrepresented point. So the answer is...
By the way, in a bipartisan manner, which is an unrepresented point. What bipartisan matter are we talking about? The bipartisan matter that calls people terrorists that are Christians? The bipartisan matter that actually says that we can go to jail if we disagree with his point of view? The bipartisan matter that actually puts 11 people in jail for sitting in a hallway and actually singing praise music while women are coming in to abort babies? Is that the bipartisan matter that he's talking about? The bipartisan matter that continues to attack and completely come after anybody who even staunchly or minutely, doesn't matter what side of it, comes against his opinion? We might be talking about different people here, but let's start at his sentence again, because I love the bipartisan manner that he speaks about. This, folks, is what you call doubling down on stupid. You would think Joe Biden was brilliant, by the way, based on what he's saying. Here we go.
Bipartisan manner, which is an underrepresented point. So the answer is absolutely all in terms of the next 4 years, Joe Biden.
all in the next 4 years for Joe Biden. All in. Oh, Joe Biden. This is doubling down on stupid, folks. Let's continue on.
Because of his age that he's been so successful. So the opportunity to express that for 4 more years, what a gift it is for the American people.
Okay, folks, you understand that's doubling down on stupid, right? It's a gift for the American people. His age and his wisdom, all kinds of things. Shall we point to the man that he's talking about here? This is him in the White House wanting to quote Lincoln. We do that? Let's just play that for just 1 second. Here we go.
He said, and I want to make sure I get the quote exactly right. He said, the better angel, he said, we must address the council and address the better angels of our nature. And we do well to remember what else he said. He said, we're not enemies, but we're friends. It's the middle, it's in the part of the Civil War.
Good for the American people? His age is an asset here? Look, age has nothing to do with this because there are brilliant people that are older than him and are as sharp as a tack. But this is what you call doubling down on stupid. And by the way, at that same place, in the same speech, look at him actually trying to exit. He doesn't know what to do next. This is the president of the United States who can hit the button to start nuclear war. You want to talk about doubling down on stupid? Good job, Gavin Newsom. This is the guy you praise?
Okay. I'm right here.
I don't know about you guys, but if you really want to know what doubling down on stupid looks like, that's exactly what doubling down on stupid looks like. So I don't really have to get much into the discussion on Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom's statement on this, but I think it's appalling that he would sit there and say that Netanyahu is doubling down on stupid in managing his country and protecting his country, right? When the governor of the state of California, who continues to rail in this way, has completely destroyed his own state. Should we talk about what doubling down on stupid looks like? Let's do that. I would really like to talk about that for just a little while. I want to thank Katie Grimes, who I don't know anything about her, but I do know that she is a reporter that reports for a group called the California Globe. And some of the articles that I found have been uniquely helpful in being able to provide perspective for you guys in understanding or learning what's actually going on. And there's some things that she points out that are pretty remarkable, and it really does sum up the totality of the matter, at least in a very precursory way, okay? Because you can dig deeper into every single one of these things to learn what doubling down on stupid actually looks like.
Doubling down on stupid.
How about we start with this? How about we start by just going over some of the headlines that we have come across throughout the tenure of Gavin Newsom being governor. How about we do that? Let's just go over some of these headlines because these headlines are kind of important and they do speak a lot. And by the way, these headlines are 2023 and before, okay? So understand there's a lot more new, beautiful headlines in 2024 that we can talk about. But let's just get into some of these headlines because I don't have to get into the details of these headlines. All you need to do is hear them and you'll understand the condition of the state of California that Gavin Newsom has left it in, right? Here we go. Let's go over some of these. Federal judge blocks California law banning gun shows at country fairs. Why? Gavin Newsom has been trying to take away gun rights from the very beginning. So you got that. How about this? Unemployment insurance. California's urgent $20 billion problem. And federal unemployment debt to hit $20 billion. Here's another one. Could a California revenue shortfall mean furloughs for state employees? The answer to that is yes, we know it did. Here's another one. Fast food CEO warn of dire consequences coming over new $20 fast food minimum wage. I wonder what CEO that was, because there were multiple that spoke about it, right? In the state of California. How about this? Wonder why Californians pay so much for gas? Taxes, regulations, and policy choices are to blame. By the way, $7 a gallon in some places, thanks to Gavin Newsom.
Doubling down on stupid.
How about this? Child sickened after ingesting cannabis candy given at EB school event. Yes, folks. Yes, EB school event. The cause and effect of legalizing drugs. Yeah, that's Gavin Newsom. He hates your children. By the way, you can't be surprised at the fact that Gavin Newsom hates your children because he tried to kill them before they got out of the womb. Okay, so just understand that. He puts billboards up in Texas that says, I know abortion is illegal over there, but in the name of Jesus, come over here and we'll help you kill your baby, right? Because I want to be a good neighbor. As the Bible says, I'm a good neighbor. That's what you call
doubling down on stupid.
Okay, how about this one? This is an interesting one, right? This is a one that'll get your attention. Spendable incomes lower in forced union dues, states like California. That's an interesting one. Or let's go back to the cannabis one. This is another one, right? Cannabis-infused gummies sicken Santa Maria students. Interesting? Funny? Joke? No, this is all real. This kind of stuff is happening, right? By the way, going back to the last headline that I read to you, workers do not flock to places where they expect their living standards will be lower. The 27 states with right-to-work laws banning forced union dues and fees as a job condition was $55,320. That's roughly $3,700 higher per person than forced unionism state average. That means in California, you've got forced union, all kinds of regulations with payment, and you make less money. Why do you make less money? Because businesses don't want to hire people when it costs them too much to be able to hire them. How about this? Talk about doubling down on stupid. Ready? Google trims Bay Area jobs, state warn notice. Even Google is laying off Bay Area employees. There it is, folks. How about this? California loses another 817,000 residents in 2022 to other states. Want to know what doubling down on stupid is? Ask Gavin Newsom. He'll tell you there's a reason why 817,000 residents in 2022 have left. And by the way, that number is double, if not triple, in the last 2 years. Think about that for just a second. How about this? Coronado makes room for more housing after legal fight with the state. Why? Governor Newsom forcing more conservative cities to build more affordable housing. Remember his fight with Huntington Beach? Governor Newsom sued the Orange County city of Huntington Beach for failing to provide enough additional affordable housing while his own home county of Marin enjoyed a moratorium on affordable housing building requirements up until 2028. That's right, folks. He won't do it in his own city. He won't even do it in his own county, but he'll poop all over yours. You want to talk about doubling down on stupid? That's what doubling down on stupid looks like. How about this? Here's another headline. The need for student services at community colleges has changed dramatically since the 1960s. Has state law kept up? Nope. No way. Let me read a portion of this. Nearly 1/4 of the state's community college students experience homelessness in the past year, and many more struggle to afford food. This is 2023, folks. According to a recent survey, some choose to get a job instead of going into college debt when they can't even afford food. Yeah, you want to talk about
doubling down on stupid?
There you go. How's another article? Here it is. Texas Public Safety Foundation unmasks the true cost of electric vehicles. Get this one. This is interesting. Electric vehicles, we know this from what California is doing. Electric vehicles would cost nearly $50,000 more to own over 10 years without $22 billion in government subsidies. That's the state of California alone. That is the state of California spending $22 billion of your money. Ready for that? How about this one? Bay Area masking up again as mandates go into effect November 1st in healthcare settings. This was last year, 2023, right? I'm not even going to get into the gist of that article because it will absolutely make you sick. Or how about this one? Trick or treat. California ranks among 10 worst in U.S. for high taxes. 10 worst. And by the way, that number has jumped to fourth. Fourth, folks. Fourth. And actually, they believe that by the time we get to the summer, it will be the second. No joke, folks. How about this? California slashes state tax collection outlook. The state tax collections, which are highly dependent on capital gains and personal income tax revenue, were suppressed by stock market weakness and slowing wage growth. Nearly half of California's income tax collections come from residents in the top 1% of income earnings. I wonder what's going on. They're all leaving, right? How did California go from a $100 billion state budget surplus to a $40 billion budget deficit? Yes, that, by the way, happened last year. $100 billion in state budget surplus to $40 billion in a deficit. So $140 billion times 3 that had to be spent in order to bring that about, right? One way is to acknowledge that California never really had $100 billion in surplus. That's probably true. Either that or Governor Newsom is just an absolutely, well, he's tripling down or doubling down or quadrupling down on
Stupid.
right? How about this? San Diego ranked as most expensive city to live in the United States, according to a new study. No joke, folks. No joke. How about that? You can thank, by the way, Gavin Newsom doubling down on stupid for that. How about this? Sacramento ranks 7th worst in nation for organized retail theft. 7, folks, tying with the city of Chicago. California used to never have that problem. And by the way, there are 3 California cities that made the top 10. That's no joke. Absolutely no joke. You think about how bad it is. Oakland coming in number 2, and by the way, Los Angeles coming in number 1. How about that for a second? Oakland and San Francisco tying for number 2, Los Angeles number 1 in the most organized retail theft. And you wonder why businesses are shutting down? Because Gavin Newsom is doubling down on stupid. And by the way, this is all since he's become the governor of the state of California. By the way, wait until the end of the video because I'm going to show you what you can do about this. I'm going to actually show you a way that you can get involved and you can put an end to doubling down on stupid. How about this one? California buries science. I'm not even going to get to that one. But actually, if you want to look into it, go look at AB 226 and AB 389, right? It requires the University of California and California State University systems to bar the use of skeletal collections that cannot be affiliated with any living descendants for research and teaching purposes. Want to know why? Because they want to continue to destroy the discussion of sex. XXYY. That's exactly why. Is that absolutely ridiculous? It's completely crazy. How about this? This is kind of an interesting thing. California's high poverty rate is thanks to bad policies. Whose bad policies? Gavin Newsom's bad policies.
Doubling down on stupid.
Lawmakers recently voted to place your ballots, a measure to make it easier for local governments to raise taxes, and have further placed a measure to make it harder to prevent tax increases. Those were ACA 1 and ACA 13. Higher taxes continue to discourage businesses from expanding or investing in California, which ultimately hurts working Californians. That is absolutely right. How about this one? Cal USC football, game delayed by protests calling for reinstatement of UC Berkeley professor. Why is that interesting? Why should that matter? A group of students sat down in the center of the Cal Bears Memorial Stadium field with thousands in the stands for the start of the game. The football players waited on the sidelines while 15 people, all dressed in white t-shirts that read, "Justice for Yvonne," locked arms, showing support for a professor currently on paid admin leave. If you want to know what the story is about that, go look into it. It's disgusting, okay? And by the way, that was Gavin Newsom.
Doubling down on stupid.
Or how about striking in California? This is all Gavin Newsom doubling down on stupid, okay? CSU Facility Union votes to authorize strike. That one is crazy, by the way, because look at what the strike is for. CSU Facility, who currently paid on average $99,000 a year for full-time work, $67,000 for part-time work, and just above $50,000 for lecturers, asked for a 12% across-the-board raise. On your dime, by the way. And Gavin Newsom supports it because he's doubling down on stupid. How about this one? Parents' concerns grow. Deadline to avoid FUSD teacher strike nears. That's no joke. According to transparentcalifornia.com, the average salary for a Fresno Unified School District is over $99,000, folks. $99,000. Look, I don't mind people making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million a year as long as their work is requisite with it, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. FUSD, FTA make considerable progress on negotiations as strike nears. The district's latest public proposal includes a 19% pay increase over a 3-year contract, which would raise the average teacher's salary to more than $100,000 per year. By the way, these are the people, a lot of them are the people that are brainwashing your children and exploiting them in the name of health education and so on and so forth. By the way, there are some really good teachers that are out there, most of which, by the way, have opted out of the unions. Here's another one. Will OC social services workers get better working conditions in the new contract? The new contract comes after employees have increasingly said they are overworked and underpaid as they try to help the county's poorest residents. Social workers have also demanded better staffing levels to pay, maybe because they're overworked because of really bad policies. How about this one? California union rifts burst into open over leaders consultant hire. And this is the one that involves Lorena Gonzalez. If you guys want to read up on that, that is a crazy one, right? That's the AFL-CIO issue. And folks, if you want to know how badly that absolutely has affected a lot of other areas, you're going to be blown away. And by the way, you want to talk about doubling down on stupid? That's exactly what doubling down on stupid looks like. How about we take a break for me to actually show you another video on what
Doubling down on stupid
looks like. We talk about these teachers and the requirements that are being placed on teachers. The good teachers, the ones that actually want to help our students, look at what they're having to do with the governor of the state of California. You want to talk about doubling down on stupid? Watch this clip.
So, Elizabeth, explain why, because of your school district, you've had to lie to parents.
Well, a policy was rolled out to all teachers, and it required us to, when meeting and speaking with parents, to withhold critical information about their child's mental and emotional health, and specifically refer to that child by one set of names and pronouns in front of parents, and then during the school day, change to another name and another set of pronouns that parents were unaware of.
Right.
So basically, I was teaching this child to live a double life.
Man, oh man. So explain, and you've had a student or students.
By the way, you wonder why my children will never go to a public school? There it is right there. Why? Because Gavin Newsom loves to double down on stupid. Doubling down on stupid. That's what it looks like.
In your class, who this applies to, how did that make things challenging for you?
Well, it was tricky. It was confusing. A teacher is a very busy person. And in addition to my roster, I was supposed to memorize names and various unique pronouns for a number of students. This is becoming a fad, especially with young girls, and empirical science has proven that. So I had no less than 7 girls that wanted different names than my roster, variety of interesting pronouns like they or zir and so forth. It's very difficult for me to remember that in a busy, hectic, moving environment.
Right, no kidding. And then I would imagine you would get in trouble if you didn't use the right pronoun that they wanted, and it would just simply be by accident. The governor's office did put out a statement. It said, federal law is clear that the governor is not a proper party in this case, and we will be moving to have the governor dismissed in short order. But it sounds like, Paul, the judge ordered the AG and the governor in on this case as well, right?
The court, excuse me, the court ordered them to be named as defendants. The school district pointed to the state and said the state is the source of this policy. And we've had the governor and the attorney general sort of defying the court's order from a distance, and now they're roped in directly under the court's jurisdiction.
And Paul, ultimately, you guys are involved because this is a chance to, once and for all, end this kind of policy, right?
Absolutely. The court already issued a groundbreaking preliminary injunction ruling last September, essentially blocking the policy under the First Amendment and also holding that it violates parents' rights. So I think the governor and the attorney general know exactly what's at stake. This is, for whatever reason, this has been a top priority for the state of California, and enforcing these gender secrecy policies. And this case presents the best opportunity to sort of undo that in California and throughout the country.
Okay, you understand that? You understand that the governor basically tried to file a suit that says, I got nothing to do with this. By the way, California judge, California courts said that Gavin Newsom has doubled down on stupid, and yes, he is liable because this is a result of his policies. He can't excuse himself from it. Sorry about any motion to excuse yourself. You're on the hook, and so is your AG because you broke the law. Yeah, oh yeah. That is a great one, by the way. Okay, so those are a bunch of headlines that continue to prove that Gavin Newsom is the king of doubling down on stupid. Now, I'm still very bothered by what he said about Bibi Netanyahu and his absolutely anti-Semitic nonsense. So I just thought I'd go a little bit more into this to reinforce everything that I'm saying. Katie Grimes, the same person who brought together the first story that I talked about, wrote another story recently. And the story is awesome because she goes on to show more of the results of doubling down on stupid. And folks, guess what? When you stop to do the research on what happens when you double down on stupid, you get at least 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 items, any one of which are enough to destroy California. But let's go over a whole bunch of them. I don't think we have the time to go over all 50. Maybe we should. I don't know. But let's talk about the issues that Gavin Newsom has affected that
Doubling down on stupid
has helped to destroy California. And I won't even get into all of the descriptions related to this. How about we just start talking about some of the basics? I won't even read all the details as into why. Let's just get into a few of them. And one of the ones that are, that I want to spend some time with and expound upon, then I'll go ahead and do that. How about we do that, right? Let's just talk about what doubling down on stupid looks like. Okay, he's messed up water rationing. By the way, should I just talk about this for a second? Let me just give you an idea on how you have to be the king of doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on stupid in order to mess around with water rationing. In order to screw that up, in order to completely mess that up, you have to be a royal class idiot. Okay, I'm sorry. Look, I'm telling you this right now. You don't have to be remotely competent to be able to actually let this one work. Why? Let me give you some perspective. How can California have a water crisis when the state borders the Pacific Ocean? The Pacific Ocean. Anybody thought about, well, it's salty water. Okay, how about this? The Sierra Nevada mountain range, 400 miles north-south and 50 miles to 80 miles east-west, drains into more than 15 rivers, 6 lakes, and numerous creeks. The Sierra Nevada snowpack is the major source of water and a significant source of electrical power generation in California. How about this one? Highest taxes in the nation. We've talked about it. Do you know that Newsom and the Democrats right now as we speak just tried to pass legislation to force successful residents of California to pay additional taxes on wealth and income that's already been taxed? And how about this? Doubling down on stupid. Governor Newsom, he vowed a tax avoidance would not be allowed as California would tax them for the next 10 years despite what state they lived in. So if you want to move out of the state of California, I'm still going to spank you if you go to Florida or whatever else because we're going to still hit you. Otherwise, we're going to chase you down as a state. Yeah, that's the kind of doubling down on stupid you're talking about. We talked about this. 2022 alone, 817,000 Californians have left. Do you understand, folks? Do you understand that what's even more stupid than that is the fact that with 817,000 Californians leaving in 2022, that there are more illegal immigrants that have come in that same year that surpass that number. Think about that. That's what you call doubling down on stupid. How about dramatically increasing crime waves? Governor Newsom even announced in 2020 he planned to close 2 state prisons in the coming years and all 3 state-run juvenile prisons, and he did it. He did it. He said he also planned to increase sentencing credits to allow inmates to leave prison more quickly, shorten parole to a maximum of 2 years, down from 5 years, for felonies and let ex-felons earn their way off supervision in just a year or 18 months for sex offenders. And by the way, I can tell you this right now, he did everything that he would promise. And you want to talk about doubling down on stupid? You want to talk about what that actually looks like? You be me and stand when you're doing the memorial service of a police officer who was killed in the line of duty because of Governor Newsom. Yes, because of Governor Newsom. Jerry Brown can take credit for some of that too. It's absolutely crazy. How about this? All big cities in the state of California, every single one of them without exceptions, have declined under Gavin Newsom, right? Multiple labor unions striking. We talked about that. Growing population of mentally ill. That's another one. Drug-addicted homeless population. Littering the streets with feces and drug needles. They are being imported from out of the state. That's what you call doubling down on stupid. How about denied housing vouchers in Los Angeles? Think about that for a second. Reparations for descendants of slaves. $7 per gallon tax. How about this? Gavin Newsom has a problem with no-bid contracts to favored donors. That is not a joke. Folks, he actually has set up an infrastructure where he will set up no-bid contracts to anybody that will fund his war chest to do whatever political nonsense he wants to do. You want to talk about corruption? That's corruption. Talk about doubling down on stupid? How about this? Adult content, folks. And when I say adult content, you know what I'm talking about. Smut. Literal evil adult content in K through 12 curriculum. School books show actual graphic sexual acts and in cartoon form, clearly targeting kids. How about this? State-mandated secrecy of gender transitioning. You guys saw the video of the lawsuit that they're filing right now against Governor Newsom, right? Governor Newsom was the first governor in the country to declare a COVID emergency, which we all know, install himself as a virtual dictator by seizing this unilateral power and completely ignoring the democratic process. And by the way, when he did that, he still went to the most expensive French restaurant in the world, sat down with no masks, did all the things that he did. And you want to talk about doubling down on stupid? Go ask his ex-wife what doubling down on stupid looks like. If he can't be faithful to his wife, you think he's going to be faithful to the state of California? No, he's not. Okay? COVID mandatory vaccine bills, single-payer health coverage, socialized medicine. If you don't know what that means, go look up Assembly Constitutional Amendment 11. Understand what that is. Public school teacher strikes. We see that more than we've ever seen it in the time that Governor Newsom has been governor, right? Energy shortage, rolling blackouts. I saw one last night, by the way. Unbelievable. How about Newsom's vaccine mandates? I'm not even going to get into all of that. Or AB 5 that Newsom signed into law, killing off the state's independent contractors. If you're an independent contractor, Newsom killed your opportunity to make a living. You all know what I'm talking about. You want to talk about doubling down on stupid? The man is the king of doubling down on stupid. And folks, I haven't even scratched the surface. I have a list here of a whole bunch more. And I can continue to read some of them. Matter of fact, let's do that for just a fun one, right? How about all of his gun control bills? They've all been overturned by federal judges. Rolling power blackouts, we just talked about that. $4.5 million free immigration legal services. Yes, it's a pilot program that he has initiated. You want to come into this country and break the law coming to this country? I got $4.5 million in your taxpayer money to be able to pay for illegals to come into the country. How about Newsom's own Ministry of Truth? His new commission on the state of hate. He created via executive order, which establishes the state's first racial equity, not equality, equity commission. So you can actually be an evil person if you say anything that defends another race. What do I mean when I say that? You think it's okay to pass somebody who's black through medical school because they're black? What do you think that does for the person who goes into medical school? What do you think it does for anybody who walks into a doctor's office and sees a black person and no longer assumes that the black person is actually competent as a doctor because they went through all the things they needed to go through? The first thing they're going to think of is they're probably not going to be a good doctor because they're black, even though some of the most brilliant doctors that this country has ever produced are black people. How about, we talk about Ben Carson and what he's done just in the field of neurology alone. Imagine if Ben Carson said, if they told Ben Carson, you're black, you can pass the MCAT, come on in, let's just skate you through medical school. You think he's going to separate the heads of a Siamese twin? I'm sorry. Folks, this is doubling down on stupid. Doubling down on stupid. He talked about being, Netanyahu doubling down on stupid because of the genocidal actions taking place and the humanitarian crisis. Okay, how about this for a humanitarian crisis, right? Governor Newsom even officially created a new state website, abortion.ca.gov, to assist anyone needing financial assistance from a red state with abortion travel plans and financial assistance to California for an abortion or to commit infanticide if you are 9 months along. That's right, killing your baby. 9 months pregnant, you can do it. You can go to the state of California. It's now legal in California, and matter of fact, they have made it a constitutional right. You want to talk about doubling down on stupid? Look at what happens when you start messing with children. Gavin Newsom signed AB 2098 by Assemblyman Evan Lowe, right? Which will punish physicians and surgeons for unprofessional conduct for advocating for the potential benefits of early treatment of off-the-label drugs or those who dare to have questions about the COVID vaccine. Medical professionals can't, no, if you're a medical professional, you can't have an opinion on something like that? That doesn't make sense. I'm not saying anything about anything medical, but if a doctor who actually does their work and knows exactly what they're doing is prohibited from saying anything, Gavin Newsom, that's doubling down on stupid. You're doubling down on killing people, taking their lives. That's doubling down on stupid. How about this one, folks? Governor Newsom calls for tax on windfall profits on oil companies after abandoning gas tax pause. Oh yeah, folks. So if an oil company makes more money because the gas tax has been lowered a little bit, then they're supposed to get hit by that. That's doubling down on stupid, folks. Gavin Newsom in 2021 largely killed hydraulic fracturing for natural gas in California as part of his overall plan to end oil extraction. He also announced his action to halt the issuance of fracking permits by 2024. That's doubling down on stupid. That's doubling down on stupid, although he'll jump on his private plane, run in his gas engine cars, all that kind of stuff. It's pretty amazing, right? How about this one? Governor Newsom signed Senate Bill 1137, gut and amend legislation by Democratic Senators Lena Gonzalez and Monique Limon, who would require 3,200-foot mandatory setbacks around California oil and gas wells. You understand how crazy that would be? You would eliminate the residents of probably 45% of Californians by doing that. You understand that? You understand how absolutely ridiculous that is? That's what you call doubling down on stupid. How about this? California Governor Gavin Newsom ordered letting another 76,000 prisoners out of state prisons on his own authority through executive order as violent crime is spiking in California cities. You also know, by the way, that a major city, 3 major cities actually, in the state of California have announced that there are certain crimes that their police officers won't even respond to. How about that? Think about the insanity of that. State Capitol staffers told the Globe in February 22 that elected members of the Assembly and Senate were exempted from COVID vaccine mandates, but Capitol staffers were not. And in fact, were required to receive a booster by March 1st or be fired. Where was the media when that happened? Well, they're doubling down on stupid, just like Gavin Newsom's doubling down on stupid. Here's another one. Talk about doubling down on stupid. Gavin Newsom's French Laundry moment wasn't confined to dining out. It wasn't just that moment when he did that and spent $17,000 on just his alcohol bill of your tax money, our tax money. Besides multiple vacations out of the country while he locked down Californians in February 2022, he starred in Maskgate at the NFC Championship game in Los Angeles despite his own face mask mandates. In other words, he showed up without a mask. There it is, folks, right? Gavin Newsom defied the state's voters within 6 weeks of being sworn in January 2019 when he announced in March 2019 he was granting reprieves for all death penalty murderers on California's death row, calling the death penalty ineffective, irreversible, and immoral. I wonder if he would change his mind if something bad happened to somebody close to him. I would never wish that, by the way. I would never wish any man to suffer the loss of a child or a family member or anything like that. But I wonder what would happen if it was one of his children or somebody close to him. And I would never wish that. May God give Gavin Newsom's family and children a long life and a good life. That's my prayer. Gavin Newsom himself, as a matter of fact. My prayer is Gavin Newsom would come to know the Lord. He needs to. How about this? Governor Newsom signed SB 152 quickly after its passage in June 2021, which changed the rules of his own recall election by allowing Lieutenant Governor Kounsalakis to set an earlier date for the recall election, exactly what Gavin Newsom decided would be best for Gavin Newsom. State officials bypassed one of the very steps in the recall election certification process they themselves put into law less than 4 years ago in order to protect a fellow state senator from his own recall defeat. By the way, I do want to say this about this. We were still able to get that recall on the ballot, but not enough people voted for it. And that's the problem. That's where the error went. How about this? Also by executive order, Newsom announced closure of San Quentin State Prison. You know how big of a deal that is, right? You understand how we're adding more and more and more crime to our state because of. By the way, did anybody know about San Quentin getting closed down? Oh yeah, there it is. Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 145 by Senator Scott Wiener, who, by the way, is a sick pervert. He's an evil, evil dude, right? Which lowers the penalties for adults who have sex with same-sex minors. This means the new law allows 24-year-old to have sex with a 14-year-old and escape a felony conviction and requirement to be registered sex offender, which, by the way, I fought that Senate bill. I spoke against that Senate bill. And you know what Facebook did? They shut me down because of it, right? They said that it was not true. It wasn't accurate. Well, we know it's true now. Governor Gavin Newsom signs a slew of marijuana bills because he's doubling down on, you guessed it, folks, stupid. Governor approved AB 205, income-based utility billing. Rather than using an all-of-the-above approach to abundant energy production in California, oil, gas, coal, nuclear, hydroelectric, solar, and wind. Think about that for a second. Think about how crazy he's made. We have so many natural resources at our fingertips, and Gavin Newsom just made it way, way higher, right? In other words, your income is going to be the determining variable for how much you get billed. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? Why not diversify the way that electricity is given to you? Why not diversify the way energy has been given to you? He won't. Why? Because he loves to double down on stupid. I talked about Gavin Newsom suing Huntington Beach in Orange County while he himself allowed a referendum on anybody to be in affordable housing in his county. Think about that. It's absolutely crazy. Governor Newsom announced in 2022 he would be developing the state's lithium reserves in the Salton Sea region and create a Lithium Valley Commission. Proponents of mandating unrealistic policies and tight deadlines to fight climate change are finally having to confront the consequences of those sweeping decisions against a backdrop of unreliable global supply chain impacting our national security. I mean, think about this for a second, guys. You want to talk about doubling down on stupid. I'm going to beat you up if you don't use electric. Oh, but wait, we've got to do rolling blackouts in order to facilitate the insatiable appetite that Californians have for electricity, right? Newsom announced, this is another one, state-funded full-scope Medi-Cal healthcare to 138,000 illegal immigrants. Newsom reinstated the Obamacare individual mandate requiring everyone to buy healthcare insurance or face tax fines. Newsom signed an executive order that he would grant reprieves for all 737 death penalty murderers on California's death roll, calling the death penalty ineffective, irreversible, and immoral. We already talked about that, right? We could just talk about all the pandemic-based fraud that was going on. People took advantage of the situation in the pandemic and were absolutely fraudulent, and Gavin Newsom doubling down on stupid made it absolutely worse. Think about all the crazy things that he did. How about this one? Governor Gavin Newsom makes a hurried $1 billion deal with China's BYD for masks. Oh, here, Chinese Communist Party, we know that you started all this mess, but let's give you money so that you can actually help us end the problem, right? Let's not forget this one. In 2020, what did Gavin Newsom do? He tried to tell pastors like me to shut down or we would face consequences. And you know what pastors like me did? We told Gavin Newsom to get lost. How about this? Can we just go over one more thing, talking about doubling down on stupid? Can we just do that? When he was elected, Gavin Newsom told everybody in California, I'm going to give you everything. You're going to get so much. Let's look at some of the promises he made. Ready? Here it is. He promised universal health care for everyone, regardless of ability to pay, including immigrants in the country illegally. Illegal immigrants. Yeah, he's keeping up to that one, right? A Marshall Plan for affordable housing production of 3.5 million housing units over the next decade, which, by the way, If you had 3.5 million housing units right now, you still are not keeping up with the illegal aliens that are coming into this country. A master plan for aging with dignity. That means a master plan for killing old people. A middle-class workforce strategy. In other words, a way to strong-arm people who are more wealthy to give a middle-class person something that they don't deserve because they choose not to work as hard as the person who is in the upper class, right? A cradle-to-college promise. Universal preschool. Universal preschool basically means universal early brainwashing, okay? An all-hands approach to ending child poverty, which, by the way, just so that you know, he has dramatically added to child poverty. I just want you to know that, right? And then this is the promise he made too. He said, I am coming across with an audacious and bold action on the homelessness crisis. How'd that work out for you? We're the worst. Folks, I am saying this, and I know that there are people going to look at me and go, you're a pastor, and why in the world are you just going off, and you've just going on and on and on and on for over an hour? Because I'm telling you this right now, pastors are the ones that should be speaking up about this. This has been nothing short of evil, what Governor Newsom has done to the state of California. And the idea that he would have the audacity to say that Joe Biden is smart and gifted and a gift to the people of our nation, and then go on to say that Netanyahu is doubling down on stupid? Folks, you just got the definition of doubling down on stupid. There's a new recall effort on Gavin Newsom. I want you guys to pay attention to this because this is very, very important. I'm going to close with this video. I want you to watch it. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We'll get into it a little bit more, but I want you to see this because, folks, this is absolutely important that you pay attention. This is not a small deal. This is a big deal, and we need to pay attention to this. So let's watch this, and we'll talk about what we can do in getting rid of this governor from office. He is an evil man, and if you want to know what doubling down on stupid looks like, watch the administration of Gavin Newsom, or the regime, shall we call it. Here it is.
Governor Gavin Newsom faces another attempt to get him out of office. Today, the governor was formally notified of a new recall effort against him. This is the second time the governor is facing the threat in 3 years.
KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala explains why organizers say this time is different.
Ty and Andrea, a conservative group called Rescue California, launched the effort today. Organizers blame Governor Gavin Newsom's handling of the state's budget, public safety, and education for this latest attempt. They say his presidential ambition is distracting him from dealing with a variety of issues plaguing the state. Now, in his 2021 recall, Rescue California was not the lead proponent, but helped raise funds and gather signatures for that effort. That recall was for different reasons, stemming from the governor's COVID-related shutdown of businesses and schools and outrage over his dining at the French Laundry in Napa after telling Californians to stay home. But Governor Newsom handily beat that recall and also went on to win re-election the following year in 2022. Now, Rescue California is leading this renewed effort. They'll need to gather 12% of the amount of votes Governor Newsom received in the last election, which amounts to about 1.4 million signatures. Now, in order to get the recall on the November ballot, they'll need to move much faster than last time, requiring those signatures to be in by May. The governor posted on X in response today saying, quote, Trump Republicans are launching another wasteful recall campaign to distract us from the existential fight for democracy and reproductive freedom. We will defeat them. And Newsom's campaign spokesman Nathan Click said, quote, we are taking it seriously. These Trump Republicans are targeting Governor Newsom because he is out there defending democracy and fighting for the re-election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. He's not going to be distracted from that fight. But organizers of the recall say the group is not just made up of Trump Republicans.
No, Governor, California is coming after you, and it's going to make the last recall effort look like sandbox. I don't see that we have made any, he's created any successes, and he's only increasing our failures. So if not now, when? We really want to sit through 3 more years with his 3 more budgets with him. He's shown that he's capable of getting good things done in short order. Maybe he needs to come and have that be his legacy here before he takes on another job.
Now, hours after the recall was made public, Governor Gavin Newsom began fundraising off of it this afternoon. Democrats across the state, including the lieutenant governor, attorney general, assembly speaker, and Senate pro tem, have all come out swinging against this effort, saying that it would be a waste of time and money for taxpayers.
And Ashley, there's also a proposed state law that is coincidentally moving through the legislature right now, and this could have a huge impact on future recalls for any California governor. What's the latest on that?
Right, and even potentially this possible recall. Now, right now in the state law, as we saw in 2021, when a recall effort qualifies for the ballot, candidates can jump in and put their name in the ring for governor. Now, if voters decide to recall a governor, then whichever candidate gets a plurality of the vote becomes governor. This new proposal, called Senate Constitutional Amendment 7, would change that by having the lieutenant governor serve the rest of the recalled governor's term. That proposal is halfway through the legislative process, and if approved, would also go to voters in November. Now, if this recall effort against Governor Newsom happens to land on the ballot in November, then that law would not apply. But if it takes this group longer to gather signatures and the recall still qualifies after November, then there's a chance that proposal would apply. All of this is piling onto an already a very busy election year, and the November ballot is already going to be packed.
Right.
So this will be a huge undertaking, and some are already calling it a long shot effort.
Yeah, and it makes for a busy time for you and all the folks working on, I know we were talking about this. Just another thing to
add to the plate. But hey, it's election season in California, and this is what you get.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
All right.
So much for the voters to consider. Ashley, thank you.
If you're watching from out of state and you think this is no big deal and it doesn't affect you, let me just simply tell you this. Recalling Governor Newsom could potentially save our country from diving into a deeper place of destruction. Because if Governor Newsom could so quickly double down on stupid and destroy the state of California, imagine what he can do with the United States of America. Let me also simply say this. There will be more people that will be getting involved in this recall. Each and every single one of us need to get involved. And we need to fight for the way of life that we know was given to us by the sacrifices of our founding fathers, and not allow people like Gavin Newsom to do the evil things that they're doing. And I get the fact that I'm going to draw some criticism. I get the fact that there will be people that will be bothered with me. I get the fact about all of those things. But you know what? I'm a pastor. I'm a minister of the gospel. And the reality of it is I have an obligation to stand forth and to tell people the truth about these things and to be bold when they happen. We are defending the nation of Israel. We are defending the things that are righteous. We are standing up for godliness, and that is our job and that is our responsibility. Folks, let's not join Governor Newsom in doubling down on stupid. And if we don't recall him, we in essence would be doubling down on stupid. Let's not do that. Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray in the immediate moment that you would directly remove Gavin Newsom out of office, that you would disable him from having any effect on the national level, and Father, frustrate every single effort that he makes to destroy our way of life here in the state of California, Father. We just pray that you would do that work, that it would be done effectively and powerfully, Lord, that you would be glorified in that. We love you, Lord. We thank you. And we ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you guys. Fight the good fight.